And Kelly, people would say, oh, I love what you're doing in Sierra Leone. And I would feel like a fraud inside, right? Because I knew something was off, but I didn't know what it was. And so in fashion, I just looked up and said to the universe and said, what am I not getting? What is this feeling? Please tell me. And that began a journey over the course of a year of me just diving deep. Now, a little bit about myself at the time. I was the mother of a 7-year-old daughter. I could barely make ends meet, and I had absolutely no business starting an organization, taking care of anybody else's children. Okay, not at all. And I started to meditate every day. I started to try on something that was called at the time shifting my mindset, right? And that meant only focusing on what felt good, what I wanted, and putting no attention on what didn't feel good and what I didn't want. So that meant a couple of things. It meant that I let go of watching the news, right? It also meant that I had to let go of certain friendships and relationships that were rooted in complaining, and that was our bond, right? Like I would have the one friend that you get together and talk about how hard it is to get a job, or the one,
Yeah.
And so I had to let those go. And I did this Jedi mind trick style, right? Like I would stop and just look at the flowers. I would look at trees and just spend 60 seconds with a leaf, falling in love with it, right? My daughter felt it, but the most important thing is her father, the father who hadn't contributed to her life up until that point. And I made it my business to let him know that he was the worst father on the planet, right? That was my job.
Mm-hmm. I can relate.
Yes. And so I gave it up, and I decided to put all of that aside and make sure that I could do whatever it took to make sure that her and her father had a good relationship, even if that meant me taking her to see him every weekend, and just operate it out of love. He felt the difference. My daughter felt the difference. Everyone did. And within 3 months or so, my life was very different. Within a year, my life was unrecognizable. So as I was coming out of my metamorphosis, something really magical occurred. When we first opened the school, it was ranked number 736 out of 736 schools. So we could only go up from there. And also when we first opened the school, I created a list of affirmations with the children. There were 10 of them. All of my needs are met. I have friends all around the world. My teacher loves me. I'm an excellent student. I'm a sponge for knowledge, on and on. And the children would say them in the morning and in the afternoon. But these children had the magic ingredient. They would sing them. They would dance them, right? They loved these affirmations, right?
I love it.
And they had been saying them for maybe about 5 years or so now, right? And when I called, as I was emerging out of my own cocoon, I found out that our school was now ranked number 5 out of 736 schools. Wow. Today it's ranked number 2 out of 736 schools in the region, right? And that was when I got that tap on the shoulder. And that tap said, there's your proof of concept. Investing in the inner development is equally as important as investing in the outer development, if not more. And see, this was 15 years ago, and it's important to understand that 15 years ago, having this type of conversation about energy and investing in a child in Africa's inner development, they were like, what are you talking about, right? I couldn't go to any conference and raise money in that way. And so this proof of concept was something that I really needed to be able to show. We didn't have the best teachers. We had great teachers that loved their students, but we didn't have anything other than this going on for us, right? And so that's when that became the ethos of Shine On, and I understood that what was wrong with me and Shine On. I was going around and preaching their sad stories, right? I was believing and aligning with them that their government was corrupt, right? And that poor them, and that it was hard, when instead I could be focusing on the power of who they are and helping them to know the power of who they are, right? And so I shifted that completely inside of me to even when I would spend time there, instead of looking at what I was looking at as, oh, wow, that looks sad, just literally seeing beauty, seeing the beauty of it, seeing the power in it. It's such a small thing, but it's enormous. Mm-hmm. And so I changed our name from a charity to a partnership, right? And I asked them if they indeed wanted to be our partners. And so we started to work together in that way. And that is the beginning, right? That was the beginning of a real shift in my healing and my understanding of how we're made and what we're made of. And 10 years into doing the work in Sierra Leone, 10 years, 6 computer literacy centers later, thousands of children being educated, children and women's healthcare center with 30,000 people being seen each year, and over 10,000 microloans for women and men to start or expand a business with a repayment rate never under 95%. That under the bridge, 10 years into this, it's been 15 years now, I decided to get my DNA test done. And I found out that my entire maternal lineage is from a little lady in Sierra Leone.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And so it was again, that tap on the shoulder that I was really being called home by the ancestors to do this work with the community. And here's what that did for me. In a time where, Shine On Sierra Leone was started when the cool organizations were started, mm-hmm. right? Like the Charity Waters and the super organizations, and wanting to have the great idea, the Millennium Villages, like who's going to win? Even with the United Nations, like the Millennium Development Goals, we got to get, that whole sense of competitiveness. I was definitely a part of that and wanting to have the best idea mm-hmm. to shift and change things. What happened when I found out I was from Sierra Leone is that all fell away, because I realized that I was just being called home, and we're here to work together. And we're planting seeds that may bloom this lifetime. They may bloom many lifetimes from now. And I'm a part of such a bigger story. Mm. And it feels so good. And it really took me out of that ego, which is a big part of the work that we do, and into self and into the whole.
Yes. I love that. It makes me think of Mother Teresa's quote that I love. It's like, there's something to do, and I'll probably mess it up royally, but it's like there's no great things. Do not aim to do great things. Do small things with great love. And so for each of us that want to feel like our purpose needs to be so big and global and like eternal, and we want to be infamous or whatever our drive is, it's like, no, if we tend to our small patch of garden on the earth, yours happens to be in Sierra Leone, and we go to whatever home we're called to do the work.
That's right.
Then we create this diverse, biodiverse love garden on the planet of,
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I love that.
What makes me think of is scale. Scale was such a big part of that time and period that I'm talking about. Organizations, everyone wanted to know, well, what's your scale plan? How will you scale?
I know. I was going to ask you that. I'm like, not even about scale, but like, how can we take what you do
exactly.
and duplicate it, like beyond
right?
Sierra Leone?
And that's, that's the culture that we are a part of.
Yes.
And what I realized when this happened is that for me, it is about scaling inward. And what that actually looks like. The work is never done yet. We have this great story, but we have so much individual work and trauma to heal within the people that we work with. Sure, this can be, somebody else can do something similar, absolutely. But it should not be looked at as though the work is done once you take it and completely duplicate it. That depth, that excavation, right, that is necessary for us to continue to live each and every day. I'm working on myself daily.
Thank you for listening to the Heal Podcast. Be sure to tune in for more empowering wisdom and inspiring healing stories. Oh, and make sure you hit the follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss that one episode that holds the answer you've been searching for. And if you feel inspired, we would love you to rate and review us so that we have the opportunity to reach more people. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram for some behind the scenes fun and more inspiration at @HealDocumentary and @KellyGorris. Thank you so much and be well.